Okay, so good evening, everyone. Today we have another amazing speaker with us, and I would like to introduce you all to Mohit Bhat. He has been into open source and blockchain and a very experienced person in this field. So he'll be able to guide you all and enlighten you all in this topic. So we are excited to have you, Mohit. And Mohit has been a dedicated open source advocate, and he has been working as a blockchain developer from the past few years. And we are very happy to have you, Mohit. So you can start now.
Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Is my presentation visible? Is my presentation visible? Okay. Yeah. Awesome. So, hey everyone, welcome to the session on open source and blockchain. I am Mohit. I am a lead blockchain engineer at Singularity. I'm also into open source. I'm the project admin and mentor at Google Summer of Code for the C2SI organization, and I have been the part of Code for Tech open source program as well as a maintainer and mentor for Meti organization, and of course in past I have been the part of Summer of Bitcoin, GitHub externship, and many other things. So yeah, so let's get started with the session. And before moving to open source, let's talk about blockchain, right? I think maybe there are a lot of students or viewers who are very new to blockchain. So first of all, let's understand uh, what is the difference between Web 2 and Web 3, in a short layman terms. So currently you are using a lot of centralized systems, right? And centralized system in the sense you build web apps or you build mobile applications, and what you do is basically you deploy it on a server, which is probably your Google Cloud or Amazon AWS or something like that, right? Now, the problem with this system is you are deploying it on a single server, which is, of course, a computer, a machine. And these companies can anytime stop you from accessing your data. Of course, you can say there are legal criteria and other stuff. But if we just talk in layman terms, the data that you are storing on these servers or a single computer, or you are storing it with a single company, they can stop you from using it anytime. In the past, we have seen Google doing it, we have seen Twitter and a lot of other platforms stopping people from accessing the platform or accessing their data. Now, how we are going to solve this? And for this, Web3 was introduced, the blockchain was introduced in the tech space. And what blockchain says basically is, uh, instead of storing your data on a a single database which is present on a single machine or a single server, we distribute it across all the computers around the world. So you have a computer, I have a computer, another person have a computer, he has a machine. This is in a layman terms that I'm explaining you. All of them have machines. So what blockchain does is basically you just install a client, a small piece of software. uh, in Bitcoin, it's Bitcoin software. In Ethereum, it's a Ethereum client software. You download it and run it. And once a lot of computers runs that piece of software, they get connected to each other. Okay, and now this builds a network which we call as uh, blockchain network. And yeah, I think screen was not visible till now. So yeah. Uh, okay, so I think I just talked about the things only. So yeah. So so what blockchain does is basically you just install this piece of client software, and you get connected to the network. And now when you have to do a transaction, because in blockchain we do a lot of we send a lot of people these cryptocurrencies or money. So when you do a transaction or you store any data on these blockchain networks, it gets stored and run on everybody's computer. Now there is no single point of failure or a single person holding your data, or a person who can stop you from accessing your data. Let's say if hundreds of computers are stopping you from accessing your data, there would be 1000 computers more around the world who would be able to give you that data. So in this way, we say this is decentralized. There are a lot of consensus and a kind of like chaining of hashes, and a lot of cryptography happens behind the scenes, which basically makes it immutable so that people cannot change the data. A lot of people have questions, right? What if like the data that I'm storing in my computer, I can change it, I can do it. You can change it in your computer, but you cannot change it in other people's computer. And if you do something wrong with the data that is in your computer, other computer will basically reject you and will just remove you from the network. So that is how blockchain works. So if we talk about like dApps are nothing. After the introduction of an Ethereum blockchain, there was a compiler which was introduced. Better word would be an Ethereum virtual machine, which can run basically code on all these nodes, on all these machines. Now, it's not only about like in Bitcoin, it was only about like coins and sending money from one account to another. But when Ethereum blockchain was introduced, the guy Vitalik basically brought an Ethereum virtual machine, which was like, uh, if we say in layman terms, a compiler which can run code. And because of running of this code, you can now write logic, you can write for loops, you can write uh, what we say like you can write any kind of code, you can write functions, you can write any kind of business logic. And because of that, today we can build applications on top of blockchain. We can deploy these applications on the blockchain network, uh, uh, and that is what we call as dApps, decentralized applications. Now, why I'm saying all of this to you. So, as an open source developer, or like if you're an engineer who wants to go into open source in Web3, there are a lot of places where you can contribute as an open source developer. Okay, so if we just compare like what is the difference between the Web2 and the Web3 applications, right? You build applications, and in Web3 we say them as dApps. So in Web2, you probably have this front end. Okay, you go on browser, there is a front end which is written in HTML, CSS, JS, and then there is a back end which is written in Node, Python, Java, Ruby. You all know these kind of languages. And then there is storage layer, which is basically MongoDB, Firebase, or your MySQL database. Okay, and this is like the current scenario that you are using. Now, what changes in Web3? Again, there is browser. There is one new thing which is introduced, that is wallet, through which you basically connect to the network. So you don't have to run a client software every time you are interacting with the blockchain. You just install a wallet which basically helps you to easily connect to the network. And then there is the same thing which is like the front end remains the same. You still have to code in HTML, CSS, JS, and all those things. Then there is something called as node provider, which is not like something you have to learn. It's just a way of connecting the back ends and the front ends to the network, so you can ignore this thing. So, and then the back end is basically a kind of replaced by the smart contracts. Smart contracts is nothing, it's just a piece of code. In C++, we say CPP file, right? In Java we say .java file, right? In like blockchain we have the smart contract. It is just another name given to code. You can just think in that direction. And the languages are like a bit new, like Solidity, Viper, and Rust. Okay, but nowadays a lot of blockchains have come into the market where you can basically code in the old languages as well. You can code in Java, Python, Node.js, JavaScript. So those kind of blockchains are also there. But one of the most used and widely like popular language uh, in blockchain is this Solidity. Okay, Solidity and Rust, I would say. Solidity one, the Solidity one like being used the maximum number of times. It's a mix of, you can say, JavaScript and Python. So if you know these languages, you can basically easily learn Solidity. So if you are very good with JavaScript or Python, you can learn Solidity, I think, in 2 weeks time. So and then you can start building applications easily. So it's not very difficult. So if you are contributing to any project in GirlScript Summer of Code and this um any of the open source programs. So I think learning Solidity is not very difficult for you. And then the only thing that is replaced in Web 2 and Web 3, I would say, the which has like the highest impact, is the blockchain thing. Initially in Web 2, you were storing your data on this centralized databases like MongoDB, Firebase, and MySQL. But in Web3, you are storing your data on blockchain. And that is why we say blockchain basically means decentralized database. Okay, it's a decentralized ledger. Instead of storing on one machine, one node, you are storing it across machines across the world. Okay. And as a developer, you can actually contribute on the blockchain level, okay, which are like basically the protocol engineers. Okay, you can uh, work on this blockchain level. You can work as a smart contract level. Okay, I'm saying this in open source and in your like uh, as your career as well. So you can be a smart contract developer who can code in Solidity, Viper, or Rust. You can be the client provider, like you can code new kind of clients, which basically helps you to connect to the network. Or you can be a front end developer. So if you are a front end developer, you are actually already a blockchain developer. If you know React, if you know Next, if you know JS and all those things, you are already halfway into the blockchain, because you still need to build front end applications. Okay, there is still a back end. Okay, the only thing is you just need to get some knowledge of smart contracts and some knowledge of how blockchain works, how to write code of blockchain, and that's it, you are a blockchain developer. So these are the areas you can contribute as a developer: front end, smart contracts, or directly on the blockchain protocol level. So if you ask me why open source in Web3, right? So a lot of people ask like, what are the benefits? And first of all, you all know what are the benefits. And let's first talk about like the open source in general. So open source has a lot of benefits. It's basically you are building a kind of free software, I would say, which is like easy to fork, easy to you can fork it. You are giving other people a chance to like build on top of those uh, uh, the application or the code that you have written. Now the thing is, Web3 is actually inherently open source. Okay, what I mean by this statement. So in Web2, maybe a lot of products are not open source. Okay, they are closed source. A lot of people make a lot of libraries or some other stuff and they make it open source, and you can find a lot of projects which are open source in Web2. But the thing with Web3 is it's about decentralization. We don't want anyone to control any like piece of software or any data of the user, or the way the things are being interacted with. So because of this nature of Web3, because of this nature of blockchain, most of the applications and most of the blockchains on Web3 are actually open source by default. Okay, because there is no one actually controlling. We build DAOs, which are like decentralized organizations, and which basically control these um, uh, all these softwares. So if you today want to access code of a lot of applications which are already built on blockchain, or if you want to access the code of a lot of blockchains, actually you will find it on internet. You can go on in GitHub and you can find like the code of Polygon blockchains or Ethereum blockchain. You can go on Bitcoin blockchain and you can find the code of the Bitcoin, and you can actually start contributing today itself. You can raise a pull request right now, and if your pull request is like very good, if it is knowing something like adding a feature or solving a problem, it will get merged after, of course, a lot of reviews happen on these repositories. But I'm saying like a technology which is being run and which is holding like millions of worth currently, you can actually contribute it like today itself. You don't have to like take a permission from someone or uh, uh, access the code or something. Everything is available online, it's public. and that is the best part of the Web3. It's like, I think, one of the uh, top user of, I would say, open source technologies. You can like, if you are using any blockchain application, or you can find its code on GitHub actually, and then you can contribute it directly, and they will be happy if you are contributing to their code. So that is like the one of the primary reasons, I would say, that allows you to like that allows you to like work in Web3 as an open source developer. Then the second part, of course, is like you are building for the community. And in Web3, if you are building some library or like some application which you are making open source, and then people start using it, you get a lot of attraction. Okay. The open source developers in Web3 are like greatly valued. Okay. A lot of people get hired on these contributions. I have a lot of friends which who do like open source contributions, and they have been like hired just directly. Somebody built an SDK, somebody built something for an blockchain. Okay. For the blockchain company, and the blockchain company basically liked that SDK and product, and they said, okay, please come and work with us. So this happens very very often in Web3 space. Of course, this happens in Web2 space as well, but in Web3, it's like, I would say, just every day, like if you are contributing, you will definitely land on a job or something, or you might get a grant to continue that SDK or a library, or you might get like some funds or like airdrops to like for your greater contribution to the community. And of course, you build actually a network. Okay. You will make a lot of friends actually, because people really like open source contributions in Web3. The third point, of course, is it's a great way to build portfolios. So a lot of students, college students, ask me like, we don't get ideas. We have learned blockchain, or we have learned some kind of project. We have learned some kind of tech stack, but we don't know what to build. Right? We are not getting ideas. I think contributing to open source projects is a great way to build your portfolio as well. So if you are not getting ideas, participate in open source programs like GirlScript Summer of Code, or there are a lot of other open source programs in the available, like Google Summer of Code or MLH, or like a lot of college level open source programs are also there. So just go there, and you can start contributing to the projects available there, not only in Web3 but in Web2, and in a lot of domain like DevOps or machine learning and many other areas. And I think if you're contributing to it, you can just mention it on your resume. Okay, I have contributed to this repository, I have contributed to this blockchain, I have contributed to this. I built a like a resume builder or something, if that is an open source project. So this is like one of the best way to build portfolio, and you don't need any ideas. You are contributing to other ideas, and I think once you start contributing to other people's ideas, you will like start getting ideas for your own projects as well. So I think you should definitely do this. And the fourth point, as I have already mentioned, like a lot of hiring happens on open source contribution basis. In Web2, this has been seen in past. People contributed to some Zomatos or some other code bases, and they got hired. You might have seen like people who contributed to Google Summer of Code, they get like a special plus point in like interviews if they are giving in like any of the companies, because they have contributed to open source. And I think one of the best reasons they hire you once you contribute to open source is they get to know you have a capability of working on a large code base, because mostly open source projects have a large open code base, and you have to like uh, uh, adhere to like some rules, and like what how to make PRs and how to make all of these things. So once you contribute to open source, these companies know this person can basically learn quickly, can contribute to our repositories, to our code base. He has that experience, and that is why they like easily hire you. And in Web3, as I said already, uh, a lot of people get hired if you are doing open source contribution basis. In fact, some people just say contribute for some time and then we will hire you. So that is how it works. And then networking and grants, as I mentioned, of course you will be building a network. If you are contributing, you will connect with people around the world. Okay, you might be talking to someone on the GitHub who is like staying in US or Europe, and in that way you actually make friends. And the second point, of course, is like the grants. So in Web3 specifically, if you are building goods or open source projects which are helping the blockchain ecosystem to grow, if you are building those kind of libraries or SDKs or tools which helps the developers or the community in any form, you will get grants from these blockchains. Ethereum Foundation gives grants for these kind of tools, and this is I am telling from my personal experience. A lot of people have got grants, which are like worth of like a lot of uh, dollars. So that should not be the primary reason to contribute to open source, but of course this is like um, uh, one of the benefits you can get. So maybe I have seen a lot of people in in open source in Web3 especially. Uh, they were building some tool and people liked it. A lot of people are using that tool, and after that they got a grant, a very big grant, which is like in crores actually. They got this grant, and then they just continued to work on that tooling. So they added more and more things. So they don't work for any company. They just launched an open source tool, and through the grants they basically fund himself for continuing that project and hosting that project. And he's making like really well in life. So this is again like another opportunity and another way of like maybe making your career path. So yeah, and of course it's like challenging and exciting, and you get to work on very difficult things, sometimes easy things. You get to understand a lot of things, and I think this is a great way to boost your knowledge as well. So I have learned a lot of things. Okay, and you will definitely learn if you are like contributing to the open source. So I think this I have already covered. So one thing that I want to cover in this is like, of course, which is like the airdrops and special privileges. So this is specifically to Web3. So when you are contributing to open source projects, so in Web3, uh, actually every blockchain basically launches a token. Okay, so in blockchain, the thing is you need a gas token which helps the blockchain to run and pay for the transaction fees when you are doing any operation on the blockchain. Now, recently, a trend has been open in blockchain where when a new token gets launched by these kind of blockchains or any kind of protocol, they basically airdrop is like giving free tokens, which of course has a very good value in the market because people basically trade it. They basically airdrop these tokens to the developers and engineers who have contributed to the blockchain repositories, to the open source repositories. So if somebody has contributed to Ethereum in 2018, 19, 20, okay, like let's say if there is a token getting airdropped tomorrow, so they will see like who has contributed to Ethereum repositories or some XYZ repositories in blockchain from 2018 to 2022, and they will airdrop on the basis of number of contributions they have done some tokens. And recently, one of the blockchain did this, and a lot of my friends actually got airdrop worth of like 30 and 40 lakhs. Uh, in form of tokens. So they were just contributing to a lot of these Ethereum blockchain, Ethereum protocol, some other blockchain projects as well, and they got like 40 lakh worth of tokens as airdrop. So this is like another great advantage of contributing to the open source projects in Web3. And of course, maybe this will not continue all the time, but this is again like another great motivation if you want to dive in this space. And of course special privileges. So there are a lot of communities in Web3, so you get special privileges to be part uh, of uh, these events or these communities. So there is a event going on in November. it will be held in November, which is called DevCon. So a lot of protocol engineers who have contributed to the Ethereum protocol and some other projects, they have been given like discounts on the tickets. So these are like some of the special privileges you get if you are contributing to the Web3 uh, tech. So now I would just talk like we have talked. It's very important to work in. It's I have talked about the benefits of contributing to the Web3 open source. Now let's understand how you can make your open source contribution safe, because it's not only about just randomly going on a project and just start contributing to it. Okay, if you are also contributing to GirlScript Summer of Code, and if you are specifically contributing to the Web3 projects, so you should take care like how you should write code and how you should write tests, what things you need to take care, because in Web3 everything is public. Okay, and you have to take extra care when you are writing the code, because a lot of hacks happen if you just don't write the code efficiently, if you are using some copy pasted code from internet. So it's very important that you understand what are the say things. So first of all, there are many open source libraries available for smart contracts. So if you are writing, let's if you are contributing as a smart contract developer, so it's very important you don't like just copy paste code from online. You should understand what you are copy pasting, or I would suggest always to use these open source libraries. One of the prominent one is like Open Zeppelin, where you will find existing Solidity codes of for a lot of code for existing business logic and other stuff. So you just have to import it and use it. Don't reinvent the wheel from scratch. If somebody is saying you write an NFT code, write an NFT smart contract. So don't write the NFT smart contract from scratch. Okay, use Open Zeppelin wherever necessary, and then write the extra logic that you need in that application. So this is very important, because these open source libraries are well tested, they are like audited, and they are safe to use. So you should definitely like use. There are many other open source libraries like Soladi and other stuff. So you should definitely use that. Then the second point is like use open source tools like Foundry and Hardhat. These are like one of the maximum use tools for like uh, writing the smart contracts and testing it, writing the scripts for test and all those things. There is another IDE. Maybe if you are a blockchain developer, you might be using an IDE, Remix IDE, but I would not suggest you to make use of that for open source contribution, because it's first of all very hard to copy paste the code from the repository to the IDE, and then it's an online IDE, so I would not suggest. So better is always you use Foundry and Hardhat. If you know JavaScript, if you are more comfortable with JavaScript, you can use Hardhat. If you are just comfortable with Solidity, if you just want to write everything in Solidity, then you use Foundry. Then you don't need a JavaScript. So Foundry is just a Solidity tool. All the testing, everything from writing smart contracts to testing happens in the Solidity language. And in hard hat you basically write this testing and all of these things in JavaScript, but the smart contract is in Solidity. So it depends upon your things. Then of course use proper linting and security plugins to write clean smart contracts. So there are a lot of plugins available. Hard hat plugin is available on VS Code, and many other snippets plugins are available. So use those to like properly lint your code, because in open source contribution it is very important to write a code which is easy to understand, with uh, comments mentioned, okay, what the function is doing, how it is doing, what was your thought process. So it's very important to write clean code, because if you don't write clean code, maybe one or two times you will get some replies, but later on maybe people will say he's not a great contributor, and it can affect your reputation in the open source field. So of course try to use proper linting and security plugins to test your code. And testing is very important. So in any of the software you are building, whether it's Web2 and Web3, testing is important. And in Web3 you have to take an extra care, because everything is public, as I said. So definitely light scripts, so that other contributors can also basically test it, whatever you have written, because other people just want to test, okay, whether the functionality is running correctly or not, and they can do it only through the help of test. because in Web3 it is not a application or a website which is opening. Okay, if you are writing a smart contract, how can they get test? They will not deploy it, they will not copy paste and do all of these things. So for them it is very important you write test, so that in just single command they can test all the functions. And uh, that is why I said it is very important that you write these tests, and Foundry and Hard Hat can help in this. And the last part is, of course, like keep learning as Web3 advances, because this tech is like very fast. New things come up every day, new hacks come up every day, new languages come up every day. So it is very important for you to keep updated, like to remain updated with what is happening around the world in the Web3 space, and you just keep acquiring knowledge, which is very important for growing in this space. So yeah. So if you ask me how to start contributing to Web3 open source, if you want today, so first of all, of course, get some knowledge of Ethereum and Solidity, okay, and any tech programming language. I would suggest you to go in JavaScript or Rust, okay. So JavaScript, I think, should be definitely with you because a lot of things happen in JavaScript. So try to take a good grasp of these programming languages, Solidity and JavaScript. Once you are good with that, go on the platforms. There are a lot of platforms I will share where you can contribute to the open source projects in Web3 specifically. Yeah. Go on those platforms and start contributing to it. Participate in these kind of college level programs or national level programs like GirlScript Summer of Code. There are some college level programs as well. So contribute to them. Okay, contribute to Summer of Bitcoin. Summer of Bitcoin is like one of the very good way of like getting into the Web3 as well. So they teach you about Bitcoin, and then you have to submit a proposal, and after the proposal you basically get selected, and you contribute to the Bitcoin projects, and sometimes you contribute to the Bitcoin repository itself. So your code will get merged uh, in the Bitcoin repository, and it will be running in everyone's computer. It will be holding the value of like uh, uh, million, like the dollars it currently has in value. Like I think it's $60,000 of value as of now. So your code will be like helping to run $60,000 worth of currency. So it will feel very good when you like contribute to those kind of repositories. So you can participate in Summer of Bitcoin. It's not very difficult, and it will come next year. So then, of course, like once you start contributing to these open source programs, then I think you will get an idea what to do. But the best way to do it is like you understand the project first. If you are contributing in GirlScript Summer of Code or any other kind of program or any another kind of project, you first understand project, like how it is running, what is present in that, what it basically does. And I think there would be a README file there which will have all the details, like how it runs and how to contribute to it. So read that, and then go on like the issues. There would be issues listed, like what are the issues they want you to solve. There would be good first issues. These are the issues that you should look for if you're a first time contributor. These are like easy level, entry level issues. So look for those good first issues and start writing code. And then of course it will be a part of getting reviewed, testing your code, and then merge. And of course don't forget to share in public, because open source contributions also means you share in public. So use your LinkedIn and Twitter to share that you have contributed something to this uh, to a particular thing. So share that and make your work visible to everyone. So just some tips, and then projects and codebase may feel like difficult in the starting. So but just be this guy, like just say like hum bhi bana lenge, okay. The thing is a lot of people complain, and they actually just uh, uh, once they start, they see the code base, they just write few lines of code, they try to understand it, and in just one day say we can't do this, and then they just like forget about that project. So don't do that. Open source need patience. Sometimes you will get a lot of feedback. uh, you mean I mean like uh, a lot of people will say correct this thing, correct that thing, okay. A lot of people will say your code is not correct, please do this thing. So don't get impatient with that. If you are not understanding, it will take some time, because the code bases are not generally easy. If you are first time doing it, it will take some time. I have personally seen it will take 1 week to understand the code base itself and getting started with it. For some people it might take 2 weeks, some people it might take 3 weeks, but I must say definitely after 1 or 2 weeks you will understand that and you will be able to contribute to it. The only thing is you need to be consistent, and you should just try hard initially to understand what it is doing. And for that, of course, you need some basic knowledge of where you are contributing. It should not be like you don't know about Python and you are contributing to a Python project. So first learn Python and then contribute. It just will take some time to understand the code base in Python, but if you know some basics of Python, you will be able to understand definitely after 1 week. So please focus on this part. Like, you have to be patient when you are contributing to the open source. Sometimes you will feel competition is very high, people are just contributing, there are already uh, hundred of people like contributing. How will your PR will get merged? This happens actually specifically in Google Summer of Code. So a lot of people think of contributing to the Google Summer of Code, making the proposal, but then they see a lot of people are there, they just say okay, we can't do this, and they just don't submit the proposal itself. So it might seem competition, but the thing is a lot of people get just rejected while they think about the project itself. So they actually don't submit the project proposal itself to these kind of programs or to the projects. So you just have to focus. And uh, I'm saying this from my personal experience. When initially started, I also felt okay, it's very difficult. It's a lot of people are there. But once I started it, within just 2 or 3 weeks, I thought, okay, it's not that much difficult. It's actually easy. And today I feel it's actually easy. Okay, maybe you will say like I have already done this, that's why I'm saying. But it's the same mentality. Like initially I thought it's difficult, but once I just sat through the code and sat through the all the things, I just made it to the end. So I think you can also do it. So if you ask me some platform available for contribution, these are open source platforms specifically for Web3. So you can contribute and earn some money as well on these platforms. These you can find open source projects which is like Super Team.on, Build Guild, Only Dust. Here you just contribute and you will get some money. Code for Arena for security audits, Bounty Caster, Deal Work, Learn Web3. So you can just go on any of these platforms and contribute to this. If you ask me some fellowships and open source programs to contribute to, of course, GirlScript Summer of Code is one of the best one to initially start with. And then if you want to go to the advanced level, you can go on the Google Summer of Code, Summer of Bitcoin. There is an Ethereum fellowship, MLH Web3 fellowship, GitHub externship. I think you should definitely like participate in this. If you want to work on the protocol itself, you go on in Ethereum Protocol Fellowship by Ethereum Foundation, and all of these programs actually pay you. So you should definitely go in that. So at last, I would just say do try open source contribution at least once. It's actually a great career path nowadays, and if you don't go into these programs as well, but you will still like learn a lot of things if you just contribute to the open source. It will make you a better engineer, it will make you a better developer. So do try it once, at least once as a developer, and if you like it, just continue with it, or maybe make it a side gig. So yeah, that's all. If you have any questions, I would love to answer that. You can connect on my LinkedIn. This is the LinkedIn one. And yeah, I think I have some questions here. So, what was the name of the company who encourages open source? If you are saying in Web3, I think Ethereum encourages, Bitcoin encourages. Starknet encourages. There are a lot of blockchain companies. Actually, everyone encourages. As I said, Web3 is all about uh, 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 open source. So every company encourages it, and if you are contributing it, any of the company in Web3 will hire you if it is present on your resume that you have contributed to it. Any other questions? Yeah. So how did you started in Web3? So it was like in my second year of my college, I went to a hackathon, and uh, there it was like Polygon as a sponsor. So we built something for Polygon, we won it, and after that I basically liked the technology, and that was the day till now I am just doing things in Web3 and contributing to more and more stuff. Oh, Web2 is also like you might have heard like Zomato and Swiggy was looking for GSoC students who have contributed to the GSoC. So similarly, a lot of many other like projects in Web2 uh, encourages like for the open source contribution. So uh, if you are saying like the public open source projects like I will talk about Web3. So you don't have to ask permission from Bitcoin repository or like the Ethereum Foundation or something. Just go on that, find the issues. If you are capable of solving it, solve it and make the PR, and that's it. Uh, that's the way of contributing it. You don't have to take any permission from anyone. How can we get started with the smart contract in Rust and Anchor? I think Solana has like first of all you should learn some Rust, and Rust takes actually time. Rust is a bit uh, time taking language to learn. Uh, but if you are good with Rust, okay, I think you should definitely work on Rust for 1 or 2 months at least. It will take more time to learn it, but I think 1 or 2 months are good head start for that development. And once you have done, there's like Solana University, and a lot of actually courses are available now for Solana. So you can go on those platforms and just can start learning. It's all available on Google. And if you specifically need some resources, you can DM me on LinkedIn. I will share that. Yeah. Yeah, sure. Like maybe like some other day we can have a live session as well to contribute to the open source. As I'm doing company demanding work personally and by using AI, but how I can improve my coding logics? Use less AI. So see, of course, like uh, now AI is there, and a lot of us actually use AI highly in our projects, like front end and back end. Uh, make use of that. I think that is not bad. Like, do not use. I'm not saying like just don't completely use AI, but the only thing is it should be in a limit. And I think you should like make your basics very clear before jumping into directly just using AI for writing the front end code and any other kind of code. If you are like making use of React, let's say using the chat GPT to build a website, it should not be like you have not learned React completely and you are just copy pasting code of React from the chat GPT. First of all, maybe you would not be able to do it because you need some level of understanding of React. But I think if you are just starting with a new language or a new thing, it is very important like for at least 6 months you don't use AI that frequently. Use AI to learn it, maybe improve your code logic or something, like initially learning okay what is Ethereum, how compiler works. You can ask those questions instead of googling it. But when you are writing code, when you are doing things, I would not suggest like for at least 6 months you completely depend on it. It's just upon you. If you want to improve your logic, write more code yourself. And I think open source is another way of doing it because you will not find everything on chat gpt if you are using open source. It will touch your brain like when you are contributing to the core concepts. So yeah. Should we start with Rust or Solidity if we know JS? I would suggest to start with Solidity. Okay, because Solidity will not take a lot of time to learn. 1 or 2 months and then contribute for some time. You are good with at least Solidity, because Solidity is like used everywhere, and it will give you a first-hand experience of writing smart contracts and that logic. And after that, you can of course switch to Rust, because Rust has very dire need in Web3, and uh, in terms of jobs as well, it is a very high paying job if you are a Rust developer. So, but I will definitely recommend you to start Solidity, and once you are done with Solidity, switch, learn Rust as well. Do you know any good playlist in YouTube to learn Web3? I think nowadays there are a lot of resources. So if you just Free Code Camp has a very good course from start to end. Just search on like YouTube uh, Web3. It will tell you like very good courses. Okay, very good channels are there like Free Code Camp. It all depends upon you. So sometimes if somebody has recommended me 5 videos, 5 YouTube channels, I just search, okay, which one is like easy to understand, which I am like thinking to be better, and then I just continue with that. I think that is what you need to do. Go on YouTube, just search Web3 courses, like uh, uh, it would be like Web3 tutorial, and I think the top 5, 6, 7 are like the best one, and just see which one is understandable to you, and then just get started with it. There are some other good courses on Udemy as well. So if you can get the course at 300, 400 rupees, on Udemy, the complete Solidity guide and the complete blockchain course is there on Udemy. The top 2, 3 courses like with 4.6 rating. So you can take that as well. It will teach you from front end to Solidity to like integrating. It's a very good course from start to end. So those are also a good place. I completed Solidity, currently learning Foundry. Am I in a right path? Uh, yes, this is good. Like if you have completed Solidity, and of course you should learn Foundry. Foundry is very great tool to you, and it's very demanding in the Web3 industry. So this is definitely a good path. Just after learning something, take some more time to build some projects with it so that you can completely grasp that knowledge. Just don't switch very frequently to new things. Just take some time, at least 1 month, to make some projects and continue with learning new stuff. uh, I started approximately in 2018. It's not much competitive now, I would say. Of course, it has become a bit more competitive than 2018, but uh, it still has a very long path to go, and there is still need of lot of developers in this space. So it's not that much competitive if we compare it with JavaScript or Web2 industry or the other industries. So it still has a lot of uh, need for the developers. I would say before learning, Solidity doesn't have any prerequisite. I won't recommend you to it to be your first language if you have not learned any language like let's say Java, C++, Python. So I would not recommend you to start with Solidity. Okay, you should have some understanding of Python, C++, or Java. Okay, at least two languages out of these three, and then you can come to Solidity. Uh, and of course, if you can learn JavaScript before Solidity, it would be very helpful to you because you can make then projects using JavaScript, because JavaScript is widely used and a lot of component uh, and tooling available in Web3 is in JavaScript. So I would say JavaScript is also one of the main prerequisites. Which resources do you follow? So did you follow? Okay, at that time there were not much resources. As I said, it was mostly other people's projects and GitHub. Nowadays if you just go on YouTube, at that time I learned from DAP University YouTube channel. It is still there. There is DAP University, so at that time I started with that. Then there was a crypto zombies course at that time, it is still there. I learned hands on crypto zombies course. Nowadays there are a lot of that kind of hands-on courses. It's just a Google away, so just search on Google, or as I said, just DM me, I will share the resources, because there are a lot of resources, so I don't know like which one to share. But YouTube has a lot of courses now. There are like some paid courses nowadays. They conduct boot camps as well. A lot of blockchains and a lot of companies and a lot of organizations are conducting 1 month, 2 month boot camp, and in fact, in-person boot camps at various places across the India. So you can join those boot camps. You can search for these boot camps on Twitter and LinkedIn. So a lot of these boot camps come up, and you can join it and you can get started with them as well. So it's not only about auditing. Foundry is not only about auditing. Normally, it is also used. So the difference between hard hat and Foundry, as I said, is if you mostly want the solidity, tech stack, and everything, use Foundry, and it is a bit faster than hard hat. But yeah, maybe it depends upon the project in the GSoC and this SOB. So if it is in hard hat, use that. If it is in Foundry, then use that. You have to work with respect to what the project is written in. So yeah. Am I ready to contribute in GSoC after learning MERN alone, or do I need additional knowledge on another technologies too? No, if you are in MERN, now it's okay. I'm ready to contribute. Okay, in GSoC. Okay, yeah, in GSoC, you don't need any other technologies. There are a lot of JS and uh, AI and projects. So it's not only about Web3 and other stuff. So a lot of projects are actually in just JavaScript and the MERN stack. So if you are very good with it, I actually did GSoC in a cloud project, but it was in the tech stack of TypeScript. Okay, TypeScript and JavaScript. So I had to work with TypeScript compilers, the transformers, and all those things. So I wrote code all about in TypeScript and worked with compilers in my GSoC period. So you can also do that. Yes, the scope in blockchain is like uh, any scope in blockchain development in specifically in India. I'm not sure if you are saying from a developer's perspective or from the business perspective. I would answer this question with respect to developers' perspective. So yes, for developers, there is a lot of scope uh, in India and abroad. Okay, there are a lot of companies who are hiring in India for blockchain developers, and specifically in outside world. And I would say if you are at least reached to a stage of as a medium level developer in Web3, if you have a knowledge which is of medium level itself, you can get job uh, worth of like at least 60, 70 LPA, 80 LPA easily in Web3 industry. So because this industry needs developers, there is not a lot of developers, not a lot of good developers actually. So if you become just a good developer, and if you just come in this space, uh, uh, you will earn more than like what you will earn in Fang or Microsoft or Apple. uh, I hope this answers all of the questions. If anyone has any other doubts, yeah.
Okay, so I think all of the queries have been resolved as well. So thank you so much, Mohit, for this amazing session on open source and blockchain. And for all the participants, I hope you got to learn something new. You got a basic introduction of blockchain. And just a reminder, these are the last few days of the coding period, and the coding period is going to end in a few days. So make the best use of these days. We hope to see you on top of the leaderboard. Also, the Postman Challenge is live now. So get your 500 points and make the PR. And we hope to see you on the leaderboard at the top of the leaderboard. So make the best use of these last few days. And that's all for this session. Thank you so much again, Mohit, for joining and enlightening
Thank
us
you for
about
inviting me.
blockchain.
It was a great engaging discussion. Thank you.